You are Daredevil lover and you want to play this build without having any allies around and still be able to solo almost anything in the game, then don't look any further. This build is for you. This is an amazing solo build that is very good in open world, but can also be played in some kind of solo instance content if you want to do that. It is very fun to play and it feels very thievy, evasive. So if you're interested, be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing. As always, special shout out to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon that help me keep the lights on. And now, without much further ado, let's jump straight in. Let's start with the gear. For gear, it's really straightforward. You want to go for full Celestial gear with Superior Rune of the Trapper, and if you can afford infusions, you would go with Malign infusions so that you get more condition damage. But of course, it's not necessary for this build. You would go for full armor, trinkets, weapon, everything Celestial. For your weapons, you actually only need Dagger. That's the only weapon set that you need, so the second weapon set is completely up to you. You can go for a short bow, you can go for whatever you like, it doesn't matter. Dagger is just the only thing that needs to be there for the damage. Full Celestial, of course, and for sigils, I would go with Superior Sigil of Frailty as well as Superior Sigil of Strength. They are by far the best option in terms of damage, but I have to mention, if you play this build with supposedly some friends, some kind of allies around you, then Frailty falls off quickly because they also might apply some vulnerability, and then Bursting is the best option. But in 99% of the cases when you are solo, this is by far the best option, so keep that in mind. For your relic, you want to go with Relic of Rivers. It's insane how much alacrity and region, how easy you get that because you want to dodge in this build anyway. But if you don't have access to it, you don't want to play it, you can easily swap that for anything. For example, Aristocracy is decent, or Fractal can be played. There are many options. This is just the best option in my opinion overall. Now let's take a look at the consumables. So for the consumables, there's only one choice. You have to go with Master Tuning Crystal or something of similar stats for the utility consumable. And for the food, the best option is by far Plates of Kimchi Pancake. Why is that? Because it provides you 15% increased bleeding duration and 70 condition damage. This is just really strong because your main damaging condition is bleeding. And you can get so much bleeding duration by using this food, it's insane. So there is no ascended version of that. If you want to get the damage reduction, of course you can go for the ascended food, but you will lose out on some damage as well. So this is my recommended choice. Before I go to the trades, I want to mention if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe, and if you like this video, be sure to leave a like, that helps out my channel a bunch. Thanks, but now to the trades. So for the trades, you go with Deadly Arts, Trickery, and Daredevil, of course. Deadly Arts just gives you a lot of damage multipliers, you get a lot of poison when you steal, just in general poison, you gain more condition damage, and while you use a dual attack, which is the most important attack that you will use, you also apply some poison. Weaken targets when you poison them every 10 seconds, that's quite nice, some CC. Then you get some more damage, your Celestial build, so that's actually quite good, because you actually apply some conditions, then you get more damage from that, and you also do some power damage. Apply vulnerability when you steal, that's quite nice, it's the most important source of vulnerability in this build. And you gain might when you hit with a stealth attack. That can be good if you stealth, but typically you don't need that to do that in the build. And then you use potent poison, of course, so that your poison damage is increased, and you additional stacks of poison on your Deadly Art traits as well. Then Trickery is your utility trait line. Get more initiative when you steal. You get more maximum initiative and more expertise. And you get more damage per initiative that you spend. That is also quite nice. You get just more damage. And your steal gains reduced recharge time. That's also quite good because your steal is quite potent, as you can see. It provides a lot of value because of the thrill of the crime. That gives you fury, might, and swiftness, and it's really good. Then you get a boon steal on your steal and vigor and even more might. It's really strong. And of course, stealing applies bleeding, and your bleeding inflicts more damage, so that's why this is so good. The straight line is really overloading steal with everything. It does a lot of bleeding, a lot of vulnerability, poison, fury, might, swiftness, vigor. It's really strong. And it's of course also boon steal while being the crazy shadow step that it is baseline. So you can reposition with that or just use it for the utility with the boons and the conditions. Then Daredevil provides you with the 3 dodges, of course, and you can alter your dodge with this trait so that your dodge now uses Impaling Lotus, which is a nice damage skill with bleeding and torment on there, and also is a world finisher and of course an evade. After dodging with this, you also get the 15% condition damage increase, so you always want to keep that up so that you actually get even more condition damage. Then you get more endurance when you steal. That's obviously really nice. So you can steal and dodge again. That's really nice. Then you get more damage increase and damage reduction from and to weakened foes. That's obviously really good as well. And then gain health and remove on condition whenever you evade an attack. This build is extremely evasive. You have crazy evade uptime. So whenever you evade an attack by an enemy, you actually heal yourself and remove a condition. So if you think like that, if you can evade all the time and the enemy is attacking quite fast, you actually heal more often and remove more conditions. So this build is actually really strong in a scenario where you can consistently evade attacks. And then you take Havoc Specialist. This is 15% damage increase all the time for power damage, but you are Celestial build, so you do some power damage as well. It's actually quite potent because of that. Now let's quickly cover the skills. So you play Dagger. Your Dagger auto attack is quite nice because it does some power damage and also applies bleeding and poison. So always use that if you don't have the 3 skill to spam. The 3 skill is really important. It's your main damage ability. You will spam that. It applies a lot of bleeding and also applies some poison because of the traits. And it's an evade. So that's really, really potent. So you can evade with that. It's a defensive skill that gives you a lot of damage as well. You would never use the 2 skill, and you would typically also not use the 4 skill here, only if you need to put some AoE pressure down from ranged. And then you have the stealth here that can be nice for just getting some vulnerability, and after using the stealth attack, you're actually getting 5 mites as well, or just to reposition because you want to get out of the fight or just don't take any damage, or not as much at least if you stealth. But I would say the most important skill is of course the 3 skill. And now let's cover the utility skills. I would go with Signet of Malice. It's a really, really good passive heal and also quite short cooldown active heal. You could swap that for stealth or just some condi removal and evade, or even the Channeled Vigor for a lot of endurance gain for even more damage and just a lot of healing. That is really potent as well. This is just the easiest option because you will passively heal. Then I take Haste for quickness, fury and swiftness, and it's a stun break on a very short cooldown. So that's really good because you have permanent alacrity. That's actually very high uptime of quickness just because of this. And then you take Scale Venom and Spider Venom just for more damage. You could swap, of course, a lot of utility skills in there if you wanted to. For example, Shadow Step if you need to do some mechanics or whatever. There are many ways to actually play this build. This is just the most aggressive setup. And then you use Basilisk Venom for a lot of CC. This is not as good as in a group because you're solo. So you can easily swap that, for example, to Dagger Storm, or if you want to have more damage for Thief Guild. Dagger Storm is, so to say, your panic button because it evades the next 3 seconds. So if you get low, you can press that. It will heal you passively because of the evades and the Signet of Malice healing. And after 3 seconds, you have a lot of other abilities back up, initiative, health, maybe even dodges. So it's actually a panic button in that sense. Now let's cover the rotation. The rotation is really easy of this build. You would just engage the fight with dodging so that you get the damage multiplier. Use all your utility skills, so Haste, Scale Venom and Spider Venom, because they instant cast. And then just spam the 3 skill while also using the steal after you have at least dodged once so that you can get another endurance charge back. And then you would always dodge and use your 3 skill, and whenever the initiative is out, you would just auto attack, especially if you have quickness, that's really potent, until you can use another dodge or another Death Blossom. This is the whole rotation of the build. Really, really easy, really straightforward, and really high evade uptime and really high damage. Just be aware that you really want to keep evades and spams to the perfect situation moment. So if you know there will be a heavy attack incoming that you need to dodge, don't spend all your initiative and your dodges before that so you can't dodge the attack. So always keep track of that. But if you can do that, this build is really fun to play and really strong in my opinion. So be sure to give it a try. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks again to all my supporters, and I hope to see you all in the next video.